Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Incision podcast on Anfield Index. Well, Liverpool versus Inter, 1-0 to Inter Milan, that impeccable home record gone. But hey, Liverpool might have not won the battle, but they won the war, and on we progress to the quarter-finals. And joining me on this podcast, it's a guy that needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He's absolutely awesome. He carries me on this podcast. He's phenomenal. I just love talking to him and I like picking his brain. And I hate it when I kind of watch back these European football matches and I'm like, oh gosh, he said that. Oh gosh, he's going to be so smug. So you know what? You know who I'm talking about. It's Themis Casares. Welcome back, Themis.
Well, one day I'm going to post a picture of me smiling as you say all those nice things in my introduction. I promise you, I'm gonna post a picture of myself.
Right, listeners, you've heard it.
A little bit embarrassed, a little bit.
Well, Themis, okay, this is the competition that you and I love getting together and talking about. We love talking about Liverpool anyway, but it's so great that we're in this quarterfinals. Here we go. That record, and you know, a lot of people got a bit agitated the fact that we lost the record, and this is where I thought of you again, because when we were in the group stages, you said I'd rather have a wobbler here than have one where it actually means something. So I took that your words of wisdom, and I was very pragmatic about the loss, and I was like, well, if you're going to have a wobbler, have it where it actually doesn't mean an awful lot. So I want to get your thoughts. Are you still on the same are you still singing off that same hymn sheet, essentially, that if you're going to have a stinker, do it now?
Well, I tweeted 3 things after the final whistle.
In English or Greek?
In Greek.
Yes.
I actually made a mini thread of 3 tweets. Okay. One of them was to congratulate Inter and their manager again for the way they played versus Liverpool in both legs. I was really surprised in their intensity and the way they set up against us, because we played AC Milan earlier and they were nowhere near the commitment and the tactical approach of Inter. The second thing I tweeted is that I hate that referee. I really hate that guy. That guy. And the third thing I tweeted was perfect night for Liverpool, perfect game to pick, to have a mediocre game, to lose at home, to hit the post 3 times. And if you're going to pick a game to do all those things, we picked the absolute perfect game to do that. And 20 minutes later, or maybe less, I read that Klopp said that the art of football is picking the right games to lose. So I said, okay, there you go. If you're not going to believe me, you have to believe your manager. And he said, it's an art, because you cannot win every game. So you have to lose somewhere. So pick the game to lose. I'm not saying that we lost on purpose, of course, but I was all smiling at the end, because I said, you know what? I can watch Mo Salah hit the post all night in that game, and I don't care. I don't want him to hit the post again in the league or in the Champions League. I want to see him finding the back of the net. So there you have it. It's the perfect game to lose.
You know what? I'm pretty sure you've got access to some of my bullet points here for this game because your thread, or I've been translating your thread and I've been doing my bullet points. I don't know. So you know what? Let's get to the top of this. And the first thing that you said was you had to congratulate Inter, and it's madness because they really did everything about that A game, and with a particular focus to the Anfield, the game that just happened on Tuesday night. I mean, one thing that kind of really impressed me about Inter Milan, I mean, I have to really commend them for their fitness. I have to give them a lot of respect for the fact that they were absolutely pressing. They were pressing us. They were making things difficult for us. I thought defensively they were really, really well drilled. I mean, on the flip side to that, I don't think our forward men had the greatest of nights, and we'll discuss that. But the professionalism of their conduct in both of the games in terms of how they were tactically set up, they were quite frustrating to play against. And I do agree with you there. I mean, it was tough, but despite what the pundits said in England, and I'd be intrigued to see what you have to say about this, because everyone's like, oh, Liverpool, oh, not looking great, and oh, Inter deserved, there was a lot of lauding of Inter, rightly so, but then at the same time, the quality of shots, they had 6 shots, I believe, against us, but none worthy of, they were quality chances. It just took one wonder goal to beat us, because on the flip side to that, I thought we were equally matched, and we weren't even our best.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, nowadays with the social media and Twitter and all that stuff, it seems to me that no one wants to have a balanced opinion on something. I mean, you hear stuff and you try to agree with what you're hearing, but at the end, they tend to exaggerate that much when you say, no, mate, you're not right. This happened in the away leg. We talked about that. Remember, we said that we have to give credit to them. Absolutely. But no, they were not the better team. No. Liverpool was still the better team, and they got the away win, and they got it with a 2 goals margin. So it's a great night for us. I mean, give credit to them, but don't say that we had problems. We didn't. We had some problems at some point in the game. I'm feeling that, the same thing happened in the return leg. I mean, I give credit to them for what you said, pressing and doing it the right way, not the way Man United did it in Old Trafford. Okay, that's one. And 2, bypassing our pressing, which is even harder to do. And they did it constantly throughout the game. And I was watching the game, and I said, you know what? They are well drilled. They know what to do, and they're doing it absolutely fine. So it's one thing giving credit to them for that. It's another thing saying that Liverpool were lucky to go through. No, we were the better team, and we played against a team that did their absolute best to match our fitness, our pressing, and our tactical cleverness. And I think that their manager is a good manager, and that's about that. That's all it gets, because you're right. They don't have the chances to show for it. They have a wonder goal, right, but they were never really worrying us. And Liverpool ended the game having 3 shots hitting the crossbar and the post. That Mo Salah chance where he got the ball from Diaz and he wasn't able to control it inside the box. Overall, what we can say is that they did the best, but it was not enough. That's it.
Absolutely. And I think, some of the pundits and, some of the, like you said, the commentary on social media completely ignoring the fact that if Liverpool, they hit the woodwork 3 times in that game. And had those gone in, the complexion of the game looks completely different. You'd think Liverpool absolutely smashed them out the park. And I feel like a lot of people really, really do focus on the goal aspect of things. Oh, Inter won 1-0. So therefore Inter were the better side. I mean, it, like you said, and like we've just said there, it took a bit of a brain fart moment from Joel Matip. Because I thought defensively again, I thought we looked really, really decent. I think that was the only kind of wobbler moment, shall we say. But I thought we handled them really well. And, it took a wonder goal, like you said. And I feel like, Inter won 1-0, so therefore Inter must have been the better team. But like you said, we've won it. It's absolutely fine. And I mean, I want to get your thoughts on the next aspect of this as well. We're talking about pressing, and I want to get your thoughts on, you said you absolutely hate this referee. And for me, it was one of the most shocking refereeing performances ever. I felt like from the get-go, he literally had no control of the game. He was letting things go, which I am a big fan of for most parts. When I hate it when the referee tries to take the limelight away from the players, and we have a lot of that in England.
He always does that. He always does that. He's the most famous Spanish referee in the recent years. He's the one who gets picked to referee the Clásicos, the Real Madrid versus Barcelona derbies, and he's always picking the wrong moment in the game. I'm all for a guy who says play on, but he picks the wrong moment. I mean, he booked Matip for a foul that wasn't even a foul, and then because of that, he had to change his whole approach inside the game. At the end, Alexis Sanchez, of course, was supposed to be sent off. I mean, come on, that was a correct decision, but he managed to make everybody angry at him, and that's a bad sign for a referee. He was always picking the wrong moments. The wrong moments to say play on, the wrong moments to say that's a foul. I mean, Mo Salah was banged in the back. And he said, you know what, I don't care. You should care about that. I mean, come on. That's not something for you to say play on. He didn't try to win the ball. You have to, if a player tries to win the ball and he actually, fouls the opponent a little bit in the process of doing that, you can award him and say, you know what, that was a little bit of a foul, but you won the ball, so play on. When someone bangs the opponent at the back, what you must be thinking to say, I don't care, play on. No, I mean, crying out loud. That guy's dangerous, and he got famous in Spain, and since that, for the most part of the past couple of seasons, he's been absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
He's like the Howard Webb of Spain right now. He always makes something about him, and that happens to referees a lot. It happened to Clattenburg, I think, when he got to the point to referee the Champions League final, and he was doing all these gestures with his tongue. I mean, you're not a star. I mean, slow down. You're just a referee. Slow down.
Yeah, I mean, his decision, for me, the first, of course, Sanchez, right decision to get the second yellow, but his first one actually could have been a red. Mm-hmm. It was dangerous on Thiago, and, and you talk about the Mo Salah incident, and, you sat there and you're thinking, oh gosh, and I remember at one point, Sadio Mane got booked as well, and I was like, oh my God, get him off because I'm scared he can get booked.
Yes, and he was really
scared. Yeah.
And Sadio was looking with that innocent look that he has when he looks into referees. I mean, he said, for what? I didn't do anything. I was trying to get past my opponent. I used my hand, and he fell on the ground pretending that I hit his face, and I was nowhere near his face. What are you booking me for? Anyway, that guy is, I don't know. I didn't know that he was the referee, and the moment the match kicked off, and I saw his face, I said, oh God, that guy. Yeah, I know him. I know those guys because I'm watching, besides the Premier League and Liverpool, I'm watching Champions League games, La Liga games, and that guy is bad news whenever I watch him.
I think a lot of Liverpool fans were absolutely disgusted with his performance. Wasn't great at all. My next question to you, Themis, is, and in terms of, is he probably one of the worst you've seen? I mean, we are spoiled for choice when it comes to bad officiating, and you think you have it bad in the Premier League, and and then you have this fanciful, I don't know, you romanticize other referees, other countries have it better, ours are dreadful, and then you see this guy rock up to us.
Absolutely, and I saw all those tweets from fans I follow on Twitter, and journalists as well, because I follow almost, every well-respected journalist from England, and they were all saying the same thing, that you think you have it bad with John Moss, and then you see that guy, and you say, John Moss is fine. I mean, I don't care, which is always, bad news when I see John Moss or Atkinson. That guy is, the funny thing is, because I have I should always mention my wife when I talk about Liverpool, but you know what? She knows the referees by now, watching football beside me.
Yeah.
and she can tell. She can tell she's not a football fan. She only watches Liverpool because of me. And we watch all the games together. And she can tell if a referee is bad. By the way, she doesn't even know the rules. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. But she can tell if a referee frustrates everybody around him, that he's a bad referee. And I don't care what the rules are. That guy is bad in what he's doing. And, that guy is really bad because he got famous and it got to his head, for sure.
Maybe he should go off and start refereeing MMA match fights. I don't know. It might be better suited to him. Yep. Okay. So we've talked about the referee. What was your third point in the thread? Oh, about Liverpool. So you're still on that. If you're smiling, and Klopp. If Klopp says it, who are we to disagree? Right, Themis. Let's talk about this game and some of the talking points. I mean, the starting lineup. I think Jones was probably the one where people are like, oh, Jones. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Seeing Thiago back was great as well, because of course, it was heartbreaking seeing what happened to him at the Carabao Cup final. Him in absolute tears. So seeing him back playing is an absolute joy. Him, Fabinho and Jones. And I thought Jones had a pretty okay first half, in my opinion. I thought he was decent. I thought the midfield in itself worked really hard and tirelessly. I thought, Fabinho was putting in some absolutely, putting a monster performance, as you would expect from him. And, Thiago was just one thing. I mean, do we have to say this? It's like copy and paste when we talk about Thiago, but his ability to find a player regardless, like, look up, there he is, I'm going to ping it to him and I'm going to move. And the movement of the ball in the midfield for me was actually really impressive, when those three were together, to begin with. And I have to, I mean, what did you make of Jones starting? I thought it was a good time to actually start him.
Yeah, I think, with players being fit again and Liverpool having a full or an almost full squad available, I think Jurgen is trying to find the right balance. And it's very hard for him to not displease everybody. I mean, Jones were out of the squad in many games, not even on the bench. And it's really hard on him because we know he has the potential, and we know he can play when needed, and he has things to offer. And he was brilliant in the Champions League group stage game when he played earlier this season. So I think Jurgen said, okay, I'm going to pick this match, and give him a place in the starting lineup. In terms of the first half, I think with Inter doing all things almost right and almost perfect, we weren't very settled in the way we try to attack. I mean, if you think back, I don't think we would have a shot in the first 45 minutes. It was only the three headers. The one from Matip that hit the crossbar, the other from Van Dijk, the first one that was saved by the keeper, and of course the second one by Virgil, which was somehow cleared before it got to the goal by some defender with his heroic interventions. We didn't shoot the ball. We only had very good chances from set pieces, and I think the main reason for that is that we never really settled into the game, like trying to attack the way we are used to. We had that for some spells, but overall we weren't really attacking the way we were supposed to. I think the first thing that Jurgen changed in the second half was switching places between Jones and Thiago. He brought Thiago to the right-hand side and then Jones to the left. And I don't think he was very pleased in the way we were set up in the first half in terms of the ball movement, as you said. and things started to look a little bit better in the second half. And I have to say, what made things better for Inter was that the Dzeko didn't start and Alexis started, because he was far more mobile in the way he pressed, but also in the way he got himself deeper in order to help his teammates move the ball and advance on the pitch. Of course, that left Lautaro Martinez all alone, and there was never really a threat from them, with the exception of that wonder goal. But they were more mobile in their pressing and in the way they tried to bypass our pressing. And I think he helped them, of course, until he was sent off. But it really made a difference for them.
It really did. And of course, Dzeko not playing and Sanchez coming in. And again, I thought, with Dzeko's height as well, you'd probably fancy somebody like Konate in there. But obviously Matip played, so that was a good thing. I thought, we handled it really well. You spoke about us in the first half, and if we were ever looking threatening, because I thought both teams were quite conservative in an attacking sense. I know there was that free kick from Çalhanoğlu, which was the only real test for Alisson, shall we say. I thought Alisson had a pretty kind of relaxed night, bar the fact that he had to pick the ball out of his net in the second half. But it was a very, very comfortable night for Alisson, in my opinion. But you spoke about Liverpool's threat and set pieces, and I'm going to have to go there. Can we talk about that lad, Trent Alexander-Arnold? Because literally, if anything was going to happen, it was him. I thought he put in a shift. I mean, for me, he was the man of the match against West Ham over the weekend. He kind of brought that form back into this game on a European stage, and I just think he's absolutely phenomenal. His defensive work is decent. It's incredible. I think it busts a lot of myths regarding him, but I think people kind of overlook his defensive work because he's just so. We focus so much on his attack and what he provides and the assists that he can do, but he is such a player. For me, he was one of the bright sparks throughout the whole game.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is that people they always want to find something to talk about. So, I mean, they talk about Trent being a good defender or not. It's so last year or 2 years ago. I mean, enough with that garbage. I mean, he's a complete player. He can do almost anything he wants on the pitch. And as you said, he's finding in a good spell of form again. And watching him play like that makes you think that when we first met him and he first got his first starts with the Liverpool set, we said, okay, there's potential. And then we were certain of his potential. And then we went to say the boy is good. And then when we went on to say, he's class. And then we went on to say, well, he's world class. And he's too young still. And I find myself thinking, you know what? We don't know what the ceiling of that player is. I mean, the sky is literally the limit. I mean, he's too young to do all those things in the way he does it. He does them on the pitch almost effortlessly by now. I mean, he's not putting any real effort to do what he wants to do. I mean, I find myself thinking in the first half when we had those chances from his deliveries from the corners. And, when teams miss a big chance from a corner, there is that frustration that we had our moment and it didn't go in. And Virgil was so calm, and Trent was so calm because they know they can do it again.
Yes.
They know they can do it again. And that's very rare because when a team misses a chance from a set piece, they go, that was it. We're not going to fight that same chance again because it's corners. You get 1 or 2 chances per game maximum if you're lucky, if it's your day. And Virgil was smiling and Trent was smiling and said, okay, we're going to try it again. And they did. And they had another chance. And it's because they are so confident of what they're doing. They know what they're doing. The work we have been doing in set pieces is absolutely amazing. The amount of goals and good chances we're getting. And that's because we got the delivery for start.
Yeah.
We got the setup from our department of which areas should we attack regarding the opponent. We got Virgil, we got Fabinho, we got Matip, and everybody's calm. That didn't go in. Okay, let's try that again. Bang, bang, bang. And it's amazing to watch him play like that. And he was marvelous in the second half as well. And even with Mo having almost an off night, we have Trent to pull the strings, and it's a joy to watch.
It is an absolute joy to watch. You know, like you said, the fact that they were like, yep, he'll try assisting me again. You know, that much you can definitely count on. Themis, we're still talking about this game, and let's talk about the attack. Because for me, I love our attack, but for me, it just wasn't it.
Yeah, that wasn't the night for us to marvel our attacking options and all that stuff.
It was just not overly great. I thought Jota, you know, had a bit of a stinker. More, you know, he's coming under criticism, and I find it very, very strange considering the records that he breaks. I think people might have forgotten the fact that he has been to AFCON. He made it all the way to the final. And I think people have forgotten that. I think a majority of Egypt's games went to like extra time and penalties all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the physical fatigue, the mental fatigue of all that. I still think he's absolutely incredible. He just looks a little bit off it right now. Nothing too concerning. But with regards to them three themes, so we're talking about Mane, Jota, and Salah. Obviously, Salah stays where he is. I mean, could it potentially be that we switch, if we're going to go with that front three till, you know, Roberto Firmino, whatever happens with him when he comes back and stuff, and we've got even more options. And if Jurgen Klopp decides to play them three, do you think it could potentially work if he maybe switches Jota out on the left and plays Mane more central?
We might see that. Yeah, we might see that because Mane is versatile and he did a great job playing that role when needed. And somehow we all got the feeling right now that maybe Diaz will be offering something more right now on the wing. He looks fresher. He looks with the biggest appetite, if I say correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then 10 minutes that he was on, he looked like he was going to do something every time he's on the ball. And I think he was on the ball like 3 times.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to say about the footballer. That what you said right now, it's a great thing to say about the footballer, especially an attacker. Well, Jota had one of those games that, you know, if he's not scoring, you're not going to remember anything from that game. That was that game from him. In some way, he's the absolute opposite from Roberto Firmino. I mean, Bobby could play, not score, and you could have a lot of things to say about him.
Yeah.
Jota had one of those games that he didn't score, and you have nothing to say about his game. Mo was obviously on an off night.
Yeah.
And they both look tired at some periods of the game. But we have to remember that the best chance we created was Sadio find Mo on the run.
Yes,
that hit the post. But had that gone in, we will all be saying there is the connection again, there is the partnership, Mo scoring again, Sadio with the assist, and everybody's happy. It hit the post, so we kind of forgot about that. But they were all the same thing again. I mean, fighting each other and producing our best chance in the game. So I wouldn't worry about them. I would like to see Mane up front again because I don't think the defenders know how to deal with him. And I remember one thing. He started up front when we played Watford. I mean, it was 3 seasons ago. It was a mysterious choice by Jurgen. There was one player missing, not more. I think Bobby was missing. And Divock started the game, and everybody was expecting that Divock would play up front with Mane on the left and Salah on the right. And actually, Sadio was playing up front, and he scored that backheel goal in the Anfield Road end in that game because it took Watford so long to realize that he was the one playing up front, leading the line centrally, that he scored that backfield goal. I remember very vividly, and it made me smile what he did. Maybe we can see him playing up front. We know that Jurgen likes to mix things up and surprise our opponents and keep them guessing. And maybe with Diaz on the left, we can see Mane up front. I'm not sure about Jota on the left, to be fair to you, but it depends on the opponent. But with the draw coming up for the quarterfinals and us going for the quarterfinals of the FA Cup for the first time with Jurgen at the helm, maybe I'm guessing we're going to see almost everything from now until the end of the season. Any possible lineup and any possible mix in our attack.
Watch this space, people. Exciting times indeed. Yet another quarterfinal beckons. Let's just quickly talk about Diaz, because it was only sort of like a 10-minute sort of cameo for him, but like we've said, it was exactly the sub that I kind of wanted Jurgen Klopp in that time. Inter at that point were 10 men down. Bring this guy on. He's just going to cause absolute havoc for that defense. Fresh legs. He's just going to run at people. He's great with the ball. I just think he's an absolute joy to watch. And, very nearly got a goal if it wasn't for that Arturo Vidal. And whilst we're here, we might as well talk about that guy's performance, because where I thought he was quiet at the San Siro, he stepped up in this game. And I have to give him, and he got booked and he managed to stay disciplined. Mind you, it could have a lot to do with the referee. I don't know. But, credit where credit is due. Yeah, we have to be honest about that, to give him credit. I think he took that personally. He knew that everybody remembers that he last visited the stadium ended up in a huge embarrassment for him and for Barcelona, and he wanted to put on a performance and maybe try to set the record straight. And they didn't make it, but he could walk out the game with his head up high, because he had a great game, and he was a warrior like he always was in his career. He got an amazing save right on the line, as you said, preventing Diaz to score in front of the Kop. And in general, we have to give him credit to Inter Milan as the whole performance in both legs. But you have to say it, especially for Arturo Vidal. He had a great game on that field. He did. And you know what? I've just remembered something that you just said about Simone Inzaghi, saying that you like him. And obviously, we're so old, we remember him as a footballer. And he's pretty decent. People always remember his brother, but he was a decent forward. But one thing I kind of realised as well, now that you were speaking about the referee and, of course, Inzaghi there, every time the referee walked over, and of course, I know one of his coaching staff got sent off, but every time there was, a bit of a situation between the referee and his staff. He was just telling everyone to just constantly calm down. And I really like that approach by Inzaghi, because I think he, like you, anticipate that this guy is a bit batshit, and let's just not feed into his ego. But I like that. I thought that was he was a classy guy on the touchline, because I've seen some pretty not so classy coaches. I remember the Villarreal one when we played them in the semi-final in the Europa League, and Klopp getting a bit annoyed at him. But I like him. I do like him. I'm with you. He was a class act. He's a tactical manager. He's not the manager of words and stuff like that. He's a class act. He studies the game. He sets his teams in the best way possible, and he's not gonna make a name for himself by picking a fight or showing the crowd that I'm here to fight for my team and stuff like that. No, your job is to train them well and to find the best tactical solutions for each game. And he does that. He doesn't care about the other stuff. He's that kind of manager. He's no Frank Lampard. Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that one as well. I forgot about him. I actually did forget about him.
Yeah, guy who got a job because he picked up a fight with Jürgen two
Yeah,
years ago, and
and
somehow that made him the perfect choice for Everton. I mean,
yeah. Well, he might be taking them down, so who knows? Very interesting stuff there. Yep. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy in Frank Lampard, and I think everyone shares that sentiment.
yeah.
What did you make of Jurgen Klopp's deja vu substitute of bringing Keita and Hendel on again together? Because we know them two just worked so magically against Inter in the first leg. So bringing them back on as well, like to react to, of course, going a goal down. I thought both of them played really well. I thought there was a bit of freshness in that midfield. I thought Keita, was really, really good in my opinion. I think, tell me how you feel, but I think I prefer Hendel off the bench.
Well, yeah, it depends on the game. I mean, it definitely depends on the game. Wherever you need the energy and the presence of your captain. I mean,
yeah. I think just purely because Themis, I don't think he's had the best of seasons this season. Obviously I've been away from football, certainly the early parts of the season for personal reasons. But I just remember just people just telling me that, oh, he's not been great. He's not been great since he signed that new contract. One thing that no one could ever say about Jordan Henderson, regardless of what you felt about him, whether you're pro Henderson or anti Henderson, was the fact that he had work rate. Nobody could question that. And this season, I think a lot of people are getting frustrated because he wasn't tracking back. I don't know if that was an age thing. I don't know, whether he just doesn't have that in his tank anymore. But what I find is when he comes off the bench,
yeah,
I feel like it's sort of like pent up energy that he can bring out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, concentrate that energy into 20 or 30 minutes of play. Well, about what you said, I think it was also a tactical thing with Jordan, because Elliott started the season as the right midfielder. We should remember that.
Yes.
And it wasn't because everybody was injured. It's because Jurgen had something in his mind. And we found out later on in the season what he wanted to change in the way our midfield worked. He wanted our right midfielder to be in a much freer role than in the past, and to get into the mix to create a tactical triangle, if I may say, with Trent and Mo on the right hand side, because he wanted Trent to drift centrally a lot more. So in order to find balance in that, we have to ask from our right hand side midfielder to get a little bit further up on the pitch. And when Elliott was injured, Jordan was asked to play that role. And he found himself much, much higher on the pitch than maybe ever. Maybe after his first season with Kenny playing him as a right midfielder, right, 11 years ago, and he was much, much higher on the pitch. And whenever we lose the ball, we were not ready to gegenpress again, and we weren't in the perfect balance to do it. And we had to improve that in the course of the season, and we are better at it right now. But I'm thinking that what you said, what you mentioned, that some people were saying about him, not tracking back and finding himself out of position and leaving gaps behind him and stuff like that. I think it was tactical. I think he was much, much higher on the pitch that he's used to, and not suiting his technical abilities as a footballer, if I may say. I mean, that's not what you're thinking about Jordan Henderson when you think about him play. It's not him on the attack trying to play 1-2 with Mo or Trent. Not that role. But he had to play at some point of the season, and he did his best. And I think people were really harsh on him on that part.
I think that's fair, Themis. Food for thought. Right, let's quickly go over some other games. Right, Man City, Sporting 0-0. Meh. They pretty much did the job anyway. Bayern Munich, my gosh, we thought we might be teed up nicely, but Bayern just being absolutely professional, winning that game 7-1, 8-2 on aggregate. As you all know, Lewandowski getting a hat-trick, a brace for Muller, Sane and Gnabry also in on the scoring action. I mean, just a quick thought on Lewandowski. I mean, is he one of the best strikers that you've seen? Because he always delivers. I mean, I feel like when the English media talk about Harry Kane, they think he's Lewandowski, or they give him that laud of praise. And for me, I just, like literally, like the way they just completely just, put so much smoke up his backside, it's actually unreal. But for me, I mean, Lewandowski, I mean, I think he got a hat-trick in this game in the space of something like 10 minutes and something seconds. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think two were penalties, and, the centre-back for Salzburg, didn't have the best against him, but
they weren't even centre-backs, they're not the natural position. They had players from other positions as centre-backs.
Oh, that is so relatable from last season. I'm not even going to go there. Been there, done that. Did it last season. But yeah, just your thoughts on Lewandowski. Ball as well.
Well, you're right on that. There's a mix watching him play. You feel like he's the old type of center forward.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's the complete footballer you need right now playing up front. Yeah. I mean, he can do many things on the pitch. He's not just a goal scorer or a poster like that. He can dribble. He knows the game very, very well. His off-ball movement is amazing. He's second to none to that. I mean, he knows where he has to be in every aspect of the game, and he's a crazy professional. I don't know if we talked about that before. I mean, he's the guy that read that the best diet for him is to eat his dessert first, and he has been doing that for the past 10 years. He sits down to eat, and he eats the dessert first because he read that this is the best way to do it, to absorb the calories and stuff like that. He always sleeps in the same way in order not to tire his right foot. Yeah, he does stuff like that. He's absolutely crazy, but not in the advertising way. I mean, not like Ronaldo, because Ronaldo likes to advertise what he's doing.
Yeah.
And, to showcase to everybody that he's a freak, that he always thinks about football, that he trains 24 hours a day. Well, Lewandowski does the same. And no one really knows about it because he's not playing in England to get all the coverage. And he's a quiet type. I mean, and you know what? What else we can say about him? That he's one of the few players that moved away from Jurgen Klopp and managed to have a great career.
Yes.
Because whoever opens that door and says goodbye to Jurgen, well, the future is not so bright for them. And one of them is Lewandowski, the biggest exception, because he was absolutely marvelous for Dortmund.
Yep.
He scored that 4 goals versus Real Madrid in that semi-final when Dortmund made the final but lost to Bayern Munich. And he moved on. He went to Bayern Munich, and since then he's the absolute top center forward. Not now, and everybody says he's right up there with Ronaldo. And I always reply, Ronaldo is a second striker. He's not a center forward playing alone at the top, leading the line by himself. No, if you have Ronaldo, you have to play another striker along him, next to him. So they're not doing the same job. They're not doing the same job. Lewandowski leads the line by himself, and he's there for the link-up plays, he's there for the dribble, and he's there to score goals. He does all those things amazingly. Ronaldo, you have to have another striking next to him, and then he can score all the goals. If there is another striker on the pitch, called Benzema, for example, or Gareth Bale. Yeah.
We'll talk about that one in a minute.
That's the way it goes. And that's the way it goes. And I still cannot believe that Man United bought him at that age and thought that he could lead the line by himself. But that's another issue.
United and bad transfers. Never heard that one before, Themis, really, honestly. Let's talk about, you mentioned the name there, Karim Benzema. Oh my God, Themis. What on earth?
Yeah.
I mean, should we really be surprised? PSG, I mean, how? Like, you know what? It's mad because, don't judge me, but, I have Snapchat. I don't use it anymore, but I remember, I got like a little memory kind of thing. You know what you were doing like a few years ago, and I think it was about 4 years ago or 5 years ago. They lost to Barcelona, PSG. Yeah. They got done. And I'm sat here and I'm thinking, nah, can't happen again. Surely not. And, you know, Mbappe scores and you think, oh, okay, you know, this looks like a foregone conclusion. But Karim Benzema and, oh gosh, Luka Modric. I mean, they had other ideas, but talk to me about this, because one thing that I cannot get out of my head is that is a team, like, it's literally been built to win a Champions League. And why do they wobble under pressure? Because that was embarrassing. Did you see their defense?
Well, I saw the defense and I saw their implosion. And right now they're a team that makes a collection of implosion. There's the game you said, the famous remontada game, the 6-1 victory of Barcelona. They won the first game 4-0 and they were knocked out. And then they had the Man United game when they were knocked out in their home ground with that Marcus Rashford stoppage time penalty. Yep. And they did it again. And they're going to do it again because they're not a proper football club. They're not run like a proper football club. And what they're trying to do is not football. It's the Champions League. It's not something you can buy, and it's not something you can decide to win. The proper way to do it is to build a football club that gets better year after year after year. That's all the teams that are winning the Champions League are doing it that way. If you think for a moment that, you know what, we're done with winning domestic leagues and we have to focus on winning the Champions League, that's the moment you destroy your team. That's what Juventus did when they bought Ronaldo. Yep. And what PSG are doing for the past 3 or 4 seasons because they win the championship easily, and they're always thinking, who should we buy to win the Champions League? That's not the way to do it. That's absolutely not the way to do it. And football doesn't have a switch that you can turn on and off. You cannot play around with Dijon and Montpellier and Nimes and Rennes and Saint-Etienne and win
I'm pretty sure they lost on the weekend as well.
Yeah. You cannot play around with them and then shoot up and say, oh, it's Champions League night. We have to be on our A game and give everything on the pitch. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works.
Right, Themis, next question for you. So last time we did this podcast, of course, it was Mbappe just showing his individual class. And my God, that boy has it in abundance.
Yeah.
And you some news broke, or you were sort of filling me in about he doesn't want to play at Real Madrid now because he was absolutely disgusted by how defensive Real Madrid were. And they were in the first leg, but I thought Real Madrid were quite expansive. I felt like they played with purpose in this game. Do you think now Mbappe is absolutely disgusted with what he's got at Paris Saint-Germain? Because
it's amazing. It's amazing what happened. I mean, halftime, I'm reading all those tweets from journalists from England, from all over the world, saying, why would on earth Mbappe want to join the team that he destroys with such ease? And 20 minutes later, it's the exact opposite narrative of PSG have no hope of keeping him right now because Real Madrid showed that they are the club that he should go to continue his career. And that says in the space of 20 minutes. And that was amazing. That was amazing what happened. I mean, in the second goal that got disallowed from him, what he did that step over on the ball that reminded everybody of Ronaldo, the Brazilian. And 20 minutes later, no one was talking about Mbappe. And that's amazing. That can happen only in football. Only in football you can find that much of a change of the narrative in the same game. I mean, okay, you have, the comebacks. Barcelona is winning the first leg 3-0, and everybody's talking about them and Messi. And then Liverpool pull the absolute miracle and win 4-0, and everybody's talking about Liverpool. Okay, we are used to that. But that dramatic change inside of the same game, I mean, who could have thought in halftime that we wouldn't be talking about Mbappe at the final whistle? Who would have guessed that Mbappe would not make the headlines after that first half performance? After he was ruining them, and then eventually they were knocked out, and another player was the absolute star of the night. That can only happen.
Talk to me about that guy, because you spoke about him and his link up with Ronaldo, and I feel like this guy, I mean, everyone that watches football knows what Karim Benzema is all about, but for me, I feel like I think a lot of people are now paying more attention to him as a forward. I felt like maybe to some degree he was maybe potentially under the Ronaldo shadow because superstar. But do you think, in your opinion, he might be one of those really underrated forwards?
Well, it happened to him because he was in the shadow of Cristiano and he was overlooked. And the interesting thing that happened is that when Ronaldo moved away to Juventus, Benzema had a horrible season.
Yeah.
Horrible season. And everybody said, you know what?
He's nothing without him.
Yeah, he wasn't that great anyway, because Ronaldo was a superstar, as you said. And now with the Ronaldo gone, he's all alone and he cannot do it by himself. And I have to be honest with you. I thought that myself too. I said, yeah, he's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And Real Madrid as a squad is not getting any younger. So they have to buy somebody else because he's not going to do it by himself at that point of his career. He's too old to lead the line by himself. And we saw that in the first season that he had to play without Cristiano next to him. And then he went on and he became the absolute superstar. And it's amazing to think that he plays for Real Madrid since 2009. And last night, he surpassed the great Alfredo Di Stefano as in the Real Madrid's top scorers in their history. He's third in the history of Real Madrid as a scorer. And he had to do that amazing hat-trick in order for the football world to say, you know what, that guy is class. It's unfair on him, but it's the way football is built. You have to do it in a game that will make everybody talk about you and remember you, because we watch all those games throughout the season and all those great players. And in order for you to stuck in the memory of something, you have to find a game to put your mark in. And he didn't have that game so far. I mean, even when he was scoring in the games versus Atletico Madrid and stuff like that, it was always about Ronaldo. And now it was finally all about him. And I don't know if they're going to go on and win it, but he had that moment, and it's only fair for him, and you have to be happy for him. And if I may add one more thing about that, well, when he scored his second goal, and he immediately scored after the kickoff, I thought of myself, well, I have seen that before somewhere. A guy scoring 2 goals in succession in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
After the kickoff. What was that guy's name? Oh, yeah, Gini Wijnaldum. And I said to myself, where's Gini right now? And the answer is, he's in that game. He's playing for the team that suffers the implosion, not the team that makes the great comeback. And to make things even worse, he's not starting the game. He's on the bench, and he remains an unused substitution. Well, the grass.
Such a slap in the face, isn't it? Such a slap in the face.
I mean, imagine that. I mean, we all love Gini. I'm not saying that to say things, to say bad things.
Can we also say as well, how amazing was Modric for Benzema's second goal?
Absolutely amazing. I mean, that guy is class. I mean, when Real Madrid did that in the second half, I was thinking, you know what? PSG are not keeping the ball, right? They have trouble to keep the ball, and they have trouble to press Modric. Who should they use for that? I know a midfielder who's great at doing that. Both things. I know a midfielder.
Yeah.
And he's on the bench, and he remains an unused substitution. You know why? Because Mauricio Pochettino cannot pull Messi out of the game. He cannot pull Neymar out of the game. He cannot do it. Do it. This is not a proper run football club. He cannot do it. And when you are a manager, you cannot do the things that you think they are right at that point of the game. You're not exactly a manager. You're doing something else. And that's why they implode year after year.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, you were saying this is an aging Real Madrid side, and rightly so. Modric is certainly one of those players, and he's aging, but the vision. I mean, first of all, he breaks with it, passes it to, I think it's Vinny Jr. And then actually PSG quite impressively get a load of men back, and you can see Vinny Jr. kind of being limited to options, and Modric is on the edge of the box, screams for it, grabs it, and he just pings this gorgeous pass to Benzema, and it just ends them. It is absolutely sensational. And you speaking about Pochettino there, and to me, if I'm ever to put like an analogy on managing PSG, it's just essentially babysitting a bunch of spoiled, entitled children.
Yeah.
Spoiled rich kids. Like you said, he has no say. You said he didn't want to hook Messi. You actually have no power. It would be very interesting if they actually got a manager that would actually challenge that and decide that he actually wants to coach them and he wants to be tactical. That would be very interesting to see. I think Tuchel tried it, right?
Yeah.
But it's just a hot mess, and I just don't know what to say about it. And I think they'll constantly implode until they don't fix up their ideas. Themis, let's talk about the last thing. A little bit of news came into us today. It was breaking news. I want to get your thoughts on this, and of course, I'm talking about Roman Abramovich. I'd like to get your thoughts on the whole story about his assets being sanctioned, of course, that does have implications for Chelsea. Won't be able to sell tickets except for season tickets. Can't sell merchandise. How does this impact them as a club, and how will it impact them in Europe? Because I'm guessing away tickets won't be sold then as well. So that's going to be really interesting.
Well, we have to wait and see, because as the government's statement said, this will be closely monitored and talked about with the football authorities as well, because Chelsea are not a yacht or a company that you could just sell. So the English government have to be very careful about what they're doing with Chelsea. Their impact right now is huge. I mean, imagine being a Chelsea fan right now, thinking, "Oh my God, what now?" I mean, how long is it gonna last? For how long? And the players coming in, going out. You cannot buy, you cannot sell, you cannot renew your contracts. There's a tickets thing you mentioned. There is the thing that I've read that even if he is allowed to make a sale, he cannot make a profit. He cannot claim the money. So if he cannot claim the money, why should he sell?
Yep.
I've seen tweets and reports with the word administration in them, which is a very painful word to be related to football club, to any football club, and we know that because we have been there, right? A couple of years ago, before we were saying, I remember all that time. So I'm thinking that maybe it can create a siege mentality among the squad, like there is them versus the world right now. Maybe Tuchel can manage that in order.
Only Jose Mourinho is the king of a siege mentality.
Yeah, but he's the guy that invents reasons to create that mentality. But now they have every reason to do that because it's a mess. It's a mess, and I don't know what the fans are thinking. I don't know what the atmosphere will be in the games and stuff like that. I mean, I've seen talks about them getting into the FA Cup semi-final, if they will be allowed to sell tickets or not. What's the allocation going to be? But I'm thinking that tickets is their smallest problem right now, because God knows how much longer that situation in Ukraine is going to be. And nobody knows what's going to happen. And I've tweeted about it, and I was a little bit mean because I've said, it's not fair for any fan not to be allowed to buy tickets to watch his team play football. And that's happening to Chelsea fans right now because of Roman Abramovich, right? But they can sit home and think all about all those titles they won because Roman Abramovich and feel good about it. You cannot have it both ways. That's what I'm saying. You cannot have it both ways. If you become great with that kind of financial doping and you are okay with it happening to your club, and if you're saying that he was the best owner a club could have, because that's what they were saying when he announced that he's selling the club, right? That was the overall reaction. Thank you for the memories. Thank you. You are great. You will always be loved. And
John
you
Terry
were
looking at you.
Yes. And you were the greatest owner, the best owner a club would have. If you believe that, and if you stand by it, then you should swallow that pill, that bitter pill, right now, because you cannot have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. And what's happening right now, it's not outside of Roman Abramovich's reign as the owner of Chelsea. It's inside that chapter. And if we're going to remember the titles, and we're going to remember the 1.5 billion that Chelsea owe to Roman Abramovich right now, as we speak, it's more than 1 billion pounds that the club owes to him because he was lending all that money to the club. If you're okay with those titles, and if you remember those Champions League finals, the ones you painfully lost in Moscow, and the other two that you won because you are the reigning European champions right now as we speak, well, you cannot have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. If you're okay with that, you should be okay with what's happening right now. If he is the guy responsible for those glory years, he is the guy responsible for what's happening right now. And you cannot walk away from that and say it's the government's fault, Boris Johnson's fault, or Putin's fault, or Ukraine's fault. No. It's Roman Abramovich.
Yeah.
That's who he is. And you loved him. And sorry, maybe it feels unfair right now, but you know what? it was unfair back in 2005 when you spent all that money to buy the league again and again. And I'm so proud of what Liverpool did in those two semifinals. So proud. You cannot believe how proud I am because of what we did back in those days. Because if it wasn't for Liverpool, if it wasn't for Anfield, if it wasn't for that team and that character and that kind of history and that crowd, they would have won the league and the Champions League in their first season with Jose Mourinho on the club. And that's not football. That's not football. And you know what? All those years, we haven't been talking about that. We have been fair. That's my opinion. Football has been fair to Chelsea. We celebrated their titles and we applaud them. We applaud Jose Mourinho's side, their defensive record, Frank Lampard, John Terry, Didier Drogba, Ashley Cole, all those guys are considered legends, right? When they won the Champions League, nobody said they bought it because it was years afterwards, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of redemption, if you will. Some neutrals were even happy to see them finally winning it, with Didier Drogba scoring the last penalty and scoring the equalizer. It was a marvelous football story. Nobody said, you know what, you don't deserve it because you bought it. Nobody said you built that team with financial doping. No, we only talked about football when they won. Right now is the time, after all those years, to talk about what really happened when he bought the club. That's all I have to say.
I love it, Themis. And just to give listeners a heads up, depending on when this pod will be released, there should be a Money Talks podcast with Mo Chatra, I believe, who will be looking into this story, and they'll give you some way more insight, and I will surely be listening to that podcast as well. So keep your ears open for that one. This is just absolutely fascinating, and completely forgot that they are the reigning champions of the Champions League, and this is happening. So hot story. So I think one that a lot of people will certainly have their eyes on. Themis, we have come to the end of this show. Before I let you go, where can people find you on social media, and is there anything you'd like to plug?
Well, I live on Twitter. I tweet in Greek, but I can always reply to you in English if you want to talk about football or anything else, or which Greek islands you should prefer to come for your holidays. My handle is my surname. It's Kesaris, KESSARIS _. And that's all I have to say. Not more talk about the quadruple, please. I hate that talk. I don't like that talk. It didn't do City any favors. That's my final word on that. Don't talk about the quadruple or stuff like that. Let it happen and then talk about it.
Yeah, do not spam Themis with quadruple talk. There you go. You have been warned.
I don't like that talk. I mean, Invincible's record, winning the league without defeat, stuff like that. Well, stuff like that happened. Teams that have done it, the Arsenal winning the league undefeated, Barcelona or Man United winning the treble, it happened. They never really said, you know what, we're going to do that this season. No, they just did.
Let things naturally unfold. Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't like that talk. I mean, Quadruple seeing tweets about it, asking Jurgen about it. Stop it right now. Let's see how it goes, and then we can talk about it.
There you have it, people. No quadruple talk. Yep, just let it happen organically. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I love talking to Themis. I love just venting out about Europe. There's been plenty to talk about this episode. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we will be back, obviously, when the quarterfinals kick off. It should be exciting stuff. I'll be back with my post-match show for the Brighton game. Hopefully another 3 points and hopefully an impressive performance as well. So watch this space. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Take care. Till next time, up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement. and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.